Okay, On the Move podcast 002. I'm going to start with one of my favorite personal quotes, and I'll explain why I've brought it up today and how it's relevant for the group that's here today. So I hope I can do this justice. It's not going to sound as good as it probably should, but I'm going to read it, and then I'll explain again why I brought it up. Again, one of my favorite quotes, and then I'll get into it. So it starts, eat at a local restaurant tonight. Get the cream sauce. Have a cold pint at 4 o'clock in a mostly empty bar. Go somewhere you've never been. Listen to someone you think may have nothing in common with you. Eat a steak rare. Eat an oyster. Have a Negroni. Have two. Be open to a world where you may not understand or agree with the person next to you, but you have a drink with them anyway. Eat slowly. Tip your server. Check in on your friends. Check in on yourself. Enjoy the ride. I want to introduce co-host Dan Hubbard, Carrie Mongelli, Karen Tuman, Carrie Karen. You guys have certainly been along for the ride.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. You two have been with Global Transport Logistics and Fusion for longer than I have. So I want to jump into that a bit. I also want to talk about the journey and the ride, which I think are a little bit different than each other, and we're going to get into that. But welcome. And
welcome. Thank you guys for being
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. So I picked that quote because it's from the great Anthony Bourdain, the late great Anthony Bourdain. And he wrote one of, I think, my favorite books, probably top 3, which is Kitchen Confidential. It came out a long time ago. I think it was actually written in the 80s. But it showed, or when I was reading it, I saw an industry that was probably crazier than logistics. And the restaurant business had some of the similarities to what we see in logistics, both the ups and downs and ebbs and flows and everything that goes on. And I immediately related to it. And I loved the book and I loved the quote because the quote was, to me, him detaching, stepping back from the crazy life, the crazy industry, and talking about, you just got to enjoy it. You got to step back and enjoy what's going on, enjoy the ride. And to me, that's what's kind of lasted with me over the last 15 years or so that I've been doing this. So wanted to introduce that at the beginning of this, talk about your ride and the journey that we've been on, because it's been an impressive one. So I have a list of questions that I want to get to and go through. I'll turn it over to you for any other comments and stuff, or else we're going to jump right in.
Yeah. So I love that quote too, and he's one of my favorites as well. But no, I just in my couple of years here in this industry, I totally think that's relevant, right? Every day is something totally new and different, and you really just have to roll with the punches. And probably nobody can relate to that better than the two of you guys, right? Having been in this kind of fray for as long as you have. I mean, I don't know if you want to maybe start with your first jobs and then kind of get into how you found Fusion.
Let's start with first professional jobs.
Yeah.
Carrie, you can go first.
Oh boy. First professional job.
Yeah, not like mowing the lawn.
Yeah, right. Not like scooping ice cream. Like your first job that you were like your first
Like full time
big person
or just
job.
Yeah.
full time.
In the working community.
Levenger, catalog order company in Delray Beach, Florida. Customer service. Had no idea what I was doing. Just took a job because I wanted to move to Florida.
Yeah. It's as good a reason as any, right?
That was it. And was there for, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 months, something like that. And fell into logistics, Hart Hanks, Fortune 500 company. Just answered an ad, went, liked the people. I always had trucking, in my house growing up. And it just seemed like the right thing to do. They were paying a ton of money. And I was like, here I go. And that's when it started. That was in 94.
94. Okay.
So I've been in this rat race and crazy, ever changing every day business since then. And, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
It's been exciting. It's been different. Started with Global up here with the Matarazzo family, and
when
they
was
treated me well. 98.
98? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been,
Treated me well. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have been gone a long time ago.
yeah.
So one of the one of the things that I kind of took away, and the reason I put this quote up is, I think there's probably two industries in America where a parent would probably not recommend their kid follow their steps. One is logistics, the other one is the restaurant industry.
Absolutely.
It's probably the only two where parents say to their kids, just whatever you do, don't do this.
Well, that's why Carrie's son's in the medical field, right?
Right.
It's like stay as far away as you possibly can.
Right.
My father warned me. I didn't listen, just like any other kid.
Yep. But once you fall in, there's rarely do you get out. That's
You get stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, you do.
all right, Karen. I know you got a good one here, so don't be shy.
So
Oh,
just
come on.
for the record,
Yes.
Frank told me your kind of origin story earlier today, and I was blown away. Like I had no idea. So please go ahead. Not to
The first
Steal your thunder.
Yeah, really. But the first actual job I had was with a trucking company way back, and it was your dad's, his first company. And then from there, I went to the Army.
Yeah.
I was in Germany for a couple of years, and then I came back, did nothing. It was fun.
what were you doing in the Army?
Yeah, please. That's the most unbelievable.
I was a medic in a psychological, yeah, I worked in on the psych units and the
Wow.
drug and alcohol units.
It's unbelievable.
In Germany, they're very busy out there. But that was interesting.
So I was telling Dan about that, and he was like, "What?"
Yeah, I honestly had
Oh,
no
yeah.
idea. I've known you for
Yeah.
2 years. I had no idea whatsoever. I
I
mean,
was
it's
stationed
amazing.
in Germany.
You must have like
That
an
was fun.
unbelievable amount of stories that you could tell about that. Not that we have to get into that now, but
You did a lot of traveling. It was
Yeah,
fun.
sure.
Just jump on the train and just go. It was fun.
yeah, it's
You know.
amazing. So after you're out of the Army, you were kind of just doing whatever
kinda doing
life came
whatever.
to you.
Yeah, and then a mutual friend, Marianne, who worked for your dad for eons at really his first company at Masco.
Yeah.
And she was like, opened a company. He was like, call him. He needs help. Okay, so I called him, and we started in Hillside. It was myself, Loretta, Jeff,
Yeah.
your friend Jeff, one sales guy, and his dad, and that was it. And then we went from there. We moved from Hillside to Fairlawn. And then
So
from-
perspective, there's probably 5 people in the company at this point.
oh yeah, that was it. There was just 5 of us
It
when
was
I
about
started.
the same in Fairlawn, too.
hmm And then we got Carrie when we moved to Fairlawn.
This is late 90s we're talking.
Yeah. And she was our 6th person. And then after that, we just started hiring a lot of characters.
So yes, that's another topic that we're gonna get into.
But yeah. And that's
What I-
when we really started picking up.
What I don't think people understand is how business was transacted in the late 90s, meaning fax machine. You'd
Yeah.
get orders through fax machine.
machine.
You'd sign a piece of paper. You'd send it back through fax machine. You'd send a carrier information through a fax.
Everything was fax.
It
Yeah.
was crazy.
hmm
And I remember coming into the office in early 2000, maybe 2004, 2005, and seeing this and saying,
Yeah.
this is archaic.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what is happening here?
Right.
It's wild. It's really funny. Like just to, when we were cleaning out the Glenrock office, we were just finding all this stuff that had just been there for years and years. And we came across a floppy disk, and Rob went up to one of the young kids that was like 20 or 21. He was like, "Do you know what this is?" And he was like, "I honestly have no idea what that is."
Yeah.
So like, just shows you how far, you know what I mean? Like, it's technology has changed everything. I mean, it's amazing.
There were mornings that your father
Father-
would come in and he would just like throw a stack of bills on my desk.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, here, this is from the night before. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was a job.
Yeah.
That was a job we
And
had
I-
in the
it would
office.
be like
was
data
opening
entry.
the carrier bills.
Dealing with all that.
So not only that, you had to open all the carrier bills, and then you had to
Right.
scan every page of the carrier bills, so that you had a copy of them.
Carrie and I did that.
Yeah.
Well, we pretty much did everything. we were kind of
Well, that's one of the things about when there's the organization's so small is that you have to wear a million different hats. I mean, there's,
Well, you
there's
did,
just so much
and-
stuff that has to get
and
done.
Tony
not
was
enough
also
people to
big
do it.
on you need to learn how to do everything. So we did.
Well,
We
in a
did
company that
everything.
size,
Sure.
the way it was structured is you managed an account from what we refer to now as cradle to grave, from the time
Right.
you get an order to the time it's billed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you used to have to do billing.
Yeah.
Remember at the end
Oh
of
yeah, we did it all.
a week or a month, you
Yeah.
you would do all
Sure.
the billing.
We would even negotiate
Negotiate
rates with the
rates.
customer.
Yeah, that's always
And
fun.
carriers to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
Always, yep.
Mm-hmm.
We've come a long way. So there's not many people that have seen, even when I started, I think there was probably 20 something employees, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, it still wasn't that big, but yeah.
It still wasn't that big, no,
Mhm.
but not certainly more than 5.
Right.
So it's been a long ride. It's
Mhm.
been a, I kind of just talk about a journey versus a ride. A journey is something I look at as like steps along a pretty straight and narrow path, but a ride is like the roller coaster, like
Yeah,
ups,
right, ups
downs,
and downs.
and sideways.
Yeah.
And that's really what this has been.
Yeah.
Going from, we were talking about on the first podcast having around 400 employees today. So it's been a
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy ride.
certainly.
Yeah,
has.
Yes,
that's
it
not
has.
including temps or anything else.
Oh,
right? So
no.
I mean, there's probably in reality more like 480, which is, going from even when I first started 2 years ago. I mean, we had 160 at most, probably. So just the amount of growth we've experienced, it's just been pretty crazy.
So collectively, you guys have done pretty much everything there is to do in this business, in the industry, from dispatching, billing, collection, like everything. What is like? You've seen a lot. Give me the one crazy experience story that still sticks with you today.
We used to entertain customers. We used to
Oh.
go out into the
clown
city,
car,
and
yes.
we used
Yeah.
to.
The clown car.
Your
I'm
father
gonna
used to
need
get
some
a
more information
limo. We
about that,
had
probably.
customers come in off the West Coast, and
She would meet them at the airport, and she would wait for the clown cars because she worked for a
What are the clown cars?
cosmetic company.
well, it was
And-
the cosmetic company out in California,
and she put on
that
every single thing that they made.
It was. I didn't know what to expect to picking her up at the airport. I was like, well, I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's
And
her.
this was a solo mission or what?
Oh no, she would pick her up and bring her back, and we'd go out to
So
dinner.
all 5 of you.
Yeah, all 5 of us would go out to dinner.
We'd
and
all go out to
Eileen-
dinner, and your mom,
mom
came out
came
with
with
us.
Really?
Your dad.
Oh, we did that a
See,
lot.
there's stories I don't even know.
Yeah,
about.
right.
Yeah.
That's why these
Oh,
are
your
great.
mom used to come with us all the time. What's your dad's favorite restaurant in no,
Oh, Chenzi, no.
Chinchilla?
Out in
We used to go
Oakland.
there, and we used to get the
We used to
room.
go there.
And
Yeah.
your mom would come,
Yeah.
and we'd entertain these people. Oh yeah,
Fun times.
Uh-huh.
Fun
Oh, yeah.
times. I miss your mom.
yeah. She was a lot of fun. She was a lot of fun on these outings.
Oh, man. So my mom would go to all my sporting events and like scream.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean like to the point where people like the ref would be like, "Who is that woman?" I'd be like, "No idea.
Never met the woman in my life. I have
Never met her.
no idea
No,
who
no.
that is.
I don't know who that woman is." But
She's
yeah,
I've never
Great.
done that.
Yeah, right.
no, it was crazy. It was stopped a little bit. It was more tame down in college, but in high school, whew, yeah. All right, Karen, you're up.
But that was.
Come
that
on,
was
there's got to be
really
some
our-
other good ones.
No, just the people who worked there were just good enough.
Well, that's the next
Right.
one. So, I mean, I have my favorites, but favorite coworker, either past or current, and why?
That's a good one.
It's going to be the same.
Go ahead.
I don't even remember her name.
That's even better.
That is even better.
She was scary. She was doing accounting.
She was scary in accounting. You don't want the
Yes.
scary ones with the numbers. That's no
Oh
good.
yeah,
You can't
no.
have that.
Every now and then you would
talking
walk
about
in. Yes. Susan with the Lincoln Log Village. She used to come to work, and all of a sudden, she wouldn't be sitting in her chair. Like you'd look, and she'd be laying behind the chair on the floor because, it was more comfortable that way.
She was laying on the ground?
Yeah. And then she would tell you.
But the little mini fridge was in her office. So
Right.
like if you wanted
Was-
anything, you had to go in there. It's not like we wanted to go in there. That's just the location of the fridge.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So you
Okay.
were
So that's
always
why
subject to
everyone's
this.
parading into her office all day
Right.
long because
Right.
the
all
fridge
day
is
long.
gone.
And she had this Lincoln Log Village that she would tell us all about, and how she had her little bears in there.
I'm not even sure what that means. So she had like
A
just
Lincoln
like
Log
a
Village with
like
all
a
her
little
little
houses
animals
built and all over her
Yeah,
office.
and they would tell her when they were scared and
Right.
Okay.
When she had a visitor and she had to put them away.
Right, yeah.
And she felt that she had to put holes in the
holes
boxes
so they
in the
could
closet
breathe.
so they could breathe. The little stuffed animals.
And so
She
what?
was in charge of accounting.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I'm surprised you guys ever got paid. So what ended up becoming of this person?
Oh, she was there one day, and the
And
next
she
day
just
she was just
was gone.
disappeared.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
She
That
she
happens-
came into your life and left
happens
just
to a
like
lot of
a
people.
poof.
That happened to another lady too. She came for the first day. I don't remember her name. She lived in Mawa.
Mawa.
And it started to rain.
Rain, yeah.
And she said, I have to go home and close my windows. Never saw her again.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a testament to like the work environment
Yeah, I don't know.
or the
She
people.
never came back.
Yeah, there's been
Oh, how about-
been some fun.
Who unplugged the phone, the main line.
Yes, it was too loud. It was bothering him. He couldn't concentrate. So he pulled it
Pulled
out of
it
the
out.
jack in the wall.
Yeah.
So he didn't think that the business
So-
needed to
no.
be able to communicate with the
No.
outside world at all. No.
But this is in the day where like everything ran through your phone.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
There's
your
no,
fax.
there's not like nobody's emailing,
Your
right?
father.
But your father showed up.
Oh, like a
I'm
lunatic.
calling the office. Nobody's picking up. And had
And I'm
just
like, it
lost
hasn't been
it.
ringing. I'm
He
like,
goes,
I don't know.
Oh, I unplugged it. What?
Oh.
So
It
where's
didn't last long after that.
where's the office located at this time? It's not in Glen Rock, right?
No, it's
is
in
it
Fairlawn, actually
Fairlawn?
right
Okay.
across the street.
Right next door.
Right next to
Okay.
that.
There were
fire
three
station.
different offices, all in that same corridor,
Yeah.
same street, and
Yeah.
it just kind of moved
Yeah.
every 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but it was all in the same ballpark.
Area.
But
Yeah.
okay, so who is that yours? That's your is your
I could listen to stories for the rest of the day. By
Who
the
the
way.
same
Like,
shipment, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeff fired him.
yeah, your friend Jeff let him go. Every week he was sending a shipment with UPS freight to Medley, Florida, week over week over week.
They
It was
don't
an
go there.
interline point. Our pricing didn't apply. And your father the first day, all right, don't send it that way again. The next week he sent it again. Okay, well, his voice got a little louder. Third week, same thing again. Fourth week, he's like, get, expletive out of here.
Yeah.
the good old
3 strikes,
days.
you're out,
And
right?
that's the
it.
way.
That was
No
done.
HR, no
No,
nothing. Just
no, it was-
get out of here.
See ya. He was HR.
So Jeff was a family friend. There's some good stories there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, I never actually had the pleasure of working with them, but I hear plenty of really good stories. But there have been a long list of really interesting and fun employees
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot.
that have
Come and gone.
come and gone, yeah, and have left a lasting impression on me and the group.
Yeah.
I'll share one story that I thought was great, and one of those things that, from an HR standpoint, leaves you kind of scratching your head. And this involved Karen,
Uh-oh.
but we had an individual.
Her eyes just got really
who
wide.
we had an individual that worked for us, and just one day decided like, whatever's in the toaster oven, I'm just going to eat.
Fair enough. Who among us, right?
So this guy was just like, yeah, that pizza's been in there for like 10 minutes, and that's too long on my clock, so I'm just going to eat this pizza. And it happened to be Karen's lunch.
Oh my goodness.
You don't eat my lunch when
Yeah,
I'm hungry.
I don't blame
Don't
you.
do it.
That would drive me nuts
So
too.
then you get, Karen's all pissed off, and I got to go figure out what is going on here, right? And there's not much to say to that. It's just
No, there certainly isn't.
okay, Karen, I guess I'm going to go buy you some pizza. don't know how to make any excuses for that one. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
good
Don't eat my
times.
lunch.
Good times. Good times.
I don't blame you there.
When I'm hungry.
That's it's I was saying to Frank on the last episode too, like that's one of those things where like when you set out to start a business or run a business or like those are the things nobody tells you, right? Like that you're gonna have to hold this one back because she's
Right.
ready to kill somebody because somebody ate a pizza. You know what I mean? Like, but that's a
Uh-huh.
real thing that happens, you know? You have to be prepared
Oh,
for that kind of stuff.
oh, yeah. Different things.
Many different personalities in this world, and you
Absolutely.
get them all under one roof. It's interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so bring us into today. Bring us into the 5-person office to now. You have about 40.
Yeah, 55 in here.
In here.
Rutherford, something like that.
So what's changed? What's how is the work environment now compared to then? But totally different though.
Oh,
right?
it's absolutely different. The
Yeah.
whole work ethic is different. The whole way to do things,
Yeah.
is different. They're definitely a smarter work, work smarter.
Yeah.
But it's way different. People's attitudes are different toward work, and
How so?
I think they're more like it used to be. Work was top, like work was the most important thing,
Yeah.
and then everything else kind of fell in. Now it doesn't seem like that. It seems like everybody's family time. This time I got kids playing this. I have kids playing that. I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah. So that's changed a lot over
That's
the years.
changed tremendously over the years.
Do you think that
It's-
that's a fusion thing, or do you think that's just like an
no,
American
I think
culture
that's
thing
pretty much
generally?
everywhere
Yeah.
now. I think
I
that's
tend to agree
it's
with
a
you. I mean,
whole
yeah.
it's a whole change,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
but which I think is for the better.
What-
But
What about just like fusion, like specific to fusion? Like, is there anything that you've noticed culturally, or just the way things get done around here, or any of that from the start to now? Is there anything like major shifts that have happened other than like the obvious like technological
Right,
advances and
technology,
stuff
yeah.
like that?
no, not really. I mean, it's still
I tend to tell people that like, I obviously didn't join when it was 5 people, but
Right.
like we did grow a lot in the past couple of years, and
Tremendous.
even just that growth, like it feels as though this is still like a smaller family-run organization to me, but it's not anymore really. I mean, it's a mid-sized company at this point, right? I mean, we're
Right,
almost
but-
500 people, including temporary employees and stuff.
But yeah, it is. It does still have the feel of
I certainly
a
think
smaller.
so. Yeah. I don't know if that's because we're kind of, all over the country and we're spread out. So like this office to me still feels like it's 55 people that are working together. And obviously there's other, we're working with the warehouses and we're working with the brokers and we're working with all sorts of other people. But it doesn't seem like a gigantic organization to me. I have worked at companies that are 30,000 people across the country, and this does not feel like that. It's totally different in my mind.
I think it feels like a a family atmosphere too, because there's people here with longevity. There's people around that have been here,
10,
10,
15 years.
15 years, and that says a lot about a company, for people to hang around that long. People don't have that much loyalty anymore.
They don't.
No,
and,
none, actually.
And to have that here is unique, and it speaks volumes, I think, for what was built,
Yeah. Well, a really good measure to me of how a company culture and how a company treats its people. We have people all the time that whenever there's a job opening, like they say like, hey, my friend would love that job, or like my cousin would really appreciate the opportunity there. And like, you wouldn't recommend someone that you care about to work at a place if you thought it was not good, right?
Right.
So that to me speaks pretty loudly.
Agree.
Sorry, I don't know if we got off topic there a little bit.
No, we have nothing but topics to discuss. So
I have one. If you don't mind.
yeah, let's do it.
So has there been anybody throughout your tenure here that you viewed as a mentor or someone that guided you along throughout your career? You're laughing, so you should go first.
Well, I'm laughing because think about it. Well, that would be Tony.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
totally fair.
He definitely taught me absolutely everything I know.
Yeah. So, like, is there anything
Absolutely.
anything in particular that comes to mind?
Well, when I first started working for him, you might want to cut this, but When I first started working for
Get the
him,
edit button ready.
I was working for a while and I was tracking shipments and, doing a bunch of other stuff, but I was tracking shipments. And I guess I didn't give him the right answer. Where's this shipment? It's not out for delivery. What do you mean? So he listened to me. I was on the phone with the carrier, and they were like, "Yeah, it's going out for delivery tomorrow. Didn't make the truck." Okay, so I turned around, didn't make the truck. Oh, that wasn't the right answer. So a little while later, he calls me into his office. He's like, "Sit down." He goes, "I just want you to know." He goes, "I listened to your call," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "You really need to be more of an asshole like me. Now get out there and do your job."
So this is extremely accurate. So what
Yeah.
used to happen
Sure.
is like if something wasn't moving through an LTL carrier network fast enough, you could basically raise hell and make it move faster.
Oh, absolutely. Like we were a national account by then, and we were
so
like,
you could call the sales rep,
and scream at them.
call the terminal,
Yeah.
and the thing that I learned right away from my father was like you can resolve these issues by one having a relationship with not just the salesperson, but knowing both an escalation and maybe even a de-escalation point. Like, hey, the salesperson is saying they can't do something, but maybe if I call the terminal manager and I just buy lunch, like we're good.
Right.
Like it happens.
Yeah, sure.
So that was one of the first things that I also picked up from him. And is still maybe not as useful to the relationship aspect is, but
Yeah, the
the
relationship
LTL carrier
aspect is
side, like I don't
definitely-
think you're getting away with as
No.
much of that anymore.
No, not at all.
But that's
But
true.
that was back, yeah.
I remember tracking every shipment. Something's not moving. Okay, like let's get on the phone with the sales rep. Let's get on the phone with the terminal manager. Let's find out where it is. Why didn't it leave? Like, is it loaded in a trailer? Is it on a dock? But like getting into the gory details of why freight is moving the way it is.
Exactly.
That was, and the majority of the freight we moved, if not all of it, was LTL.
Yes.
So it was
We were big LTL.
big LTL relationships with the national carriers.
And chemicals from the get-go.
A lot of chemicals.
Yeah, lots
a lot
of chemicals.
right off the bat.
We started with
Yep.
mostly chemicals.
How about you?
Sure. Yeah, definitely Tony. I mean, he was a great mentor. He taught you, what you needed to know, how you needed to do it. And, everybody kind of just fell in line with that. It was structured. It was very, matter of fact. There was no gray area. You knew exactly what he was thinking, what he wanted you to do. It was very black and white. And, starting off in a small company that way, and at a younger age, when I was that you want that structure, right?
Sure.
And
That's,
all
I think,
works
one of
out.
the largest challenges we have now is as the organization grows, it's having the right communication channels open and consistently open to make sure everybody has an idea of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, what's priority. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we face when you grow to the extent that we have. It's hard to keep all the lines of communication open
Right.
all the time.
that's true.
And you also start to have business segment or silos within the business that need to be broken down. So one department not talking to the other one, not having uniform policies or procedures across departments. We see that every day here. And it's as simple as the way that you move through a workflow in dispatching shipments to broader HR policies that are somewhat followed differently by departments, which is crazy.
Right.
So when you have a single owner, a flatter communication profile, I think it's easier. And then as you grow to the extent that we have, that becomes one of the biggest challenges.
I just wanted to. It's. I've never met Tony, right? And everyone that
Most people haven't, which
yeah,
is crazy.
it is, and
Yeah.
I would love to have him in, and just I'm sure
Me
everyone would love to
too.
see him again. But it's pretty awesome to me that by all stories that I've heard, he could be tough, right? I mean, he knew what he wanted and he wanted it, you know, and he wanted to make sure everyone kind of felt as strongly about what they were doing as he did, right? Which I think is admirable. But, you know, it's funny because it seems as though he was hard on you guys, but you all remember him so fondly, right? And it seems to me like everyone that I've talked to that did have interactions with him would say that, you know, he could be tough, but at the end of the day, like he really cared about his employees and wanted to make sure that you guys were successful. And, you know, so, you know, I feel like you don't really see that type of management style anymore, but it seems like at least to you guys, it was something that you worked well with.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be relevant today. Like, I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could
Oh, no.
manage that way.
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, that was a different time. It was like
Yeah.
another lifetime ago, you know? Things were different.
Very
You know,
different.
we don't have, you know, this generation now is a little more sensitive,
Yeah.
shall
exactly.
we say.
Easy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what would you, this is actually
She's
another,
right.
that leads really well into another question that I wanted to ask you guys. So, and this is probably even more appropriate for you because you do have a child that's coming into the workforce, but someone who is new to joining Fusion or someone who had just graduated from school and is joining the workforce in their first quote unquote adult job for the first time, just given all that you've learned throughout your careers, like what is something that you would tell somebody that's, you know, starting their first job? It doesn't even have to be in logistics, just generally.
Just be open-minded and learn all you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put up any walls,
is.
you know?
Get further.
Yeah,
Learn it all.
just learn it.
You know, it's we have not even here necessarily, but in other jobs that I've had, if you have like interns or people that are just joining, like sometimes you get kids that feel as though they know everything, right? And obviously nobody knows everything. And I feel like the sooner that you can learn that about yourself, the better off you'll be, right? So-
Probably.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, just even looking forward, right? So, you know, you guys have seen Fusion from kind of its birth to now. What do you kind of hope happens in the next 10 years? Or what would you like to see happen in the next year?
I would hope, God, I would retire in the next 10 years. But
Well, what would you like to see for me? Because I'm hopefully still I'm not going to be retired in 10
Okay.
years. So
This
what would
is
you like
true.
to see Fusion kind of, the next iteration of Fusion, what would you kind of like to see happen in the organization?
I don't know. We're expanding. I like to keep seeing that expansion, you know, just keep
Yeah,
going.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see new locations
new-
open up,
exactly.
more employees added. Yeah.
Hmm. I'd like to see that. Definitely.
How about you?
Yeah, I'd like to see the same. I mean,
Yeah.
Karen's closer to retirement than what I am.
Yeah.
She's a lot older than me.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah. True.
I mean, I have at least another 15 more years. So I would
No,
like
may
to
be dead by then.
continue to see it grow because, I mean, back in 98 when I came here, boy, that would be a great pick, huh? Just ride it out to retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've changed roles a bit. Most recently, made another change.
Yeah, definitely. And that's great. You know,
How do you like? Why don't you tell everyone kind of where you were and then what you're doing now?
oh boy. So first, Karen and I were in a closet together doing billing and
literal
tracking
Yeah,
and
it was literally.
all of that stuff, all the way up to dispatch, load planning, and now customer experience, which is different every single day.
Yeah, totally.
It's exciting, uncovering a lot of things, trying to get a lot of policies and procedures and, you know, standard operating procedures in place so that everybody across the board's aligned and everybody knows how their role affects the next person to make things a little bit more streamlined here.
Yeah. So to clarify, you're now on the front line.
Basically,
totally.
yeah.
You're
Right.
interfacing with the customer every
Yeah.
day, doing monthly reviews, quarterly reviews, whatever the review sequence or cadence is, and taking their feedback and coming back to operations and saying, guys, here's where we need to make adjustments, as move changes, whatever they are. And this is going to help us as an organization. So you're just enhancing the customer experience with Fusion.
Yes. And that's something that we've never had before. So this is kind of new. It just started up in the past year. And And I think it's something that we desperately needed. We're bringing on a lot more accounts now. And I think that the customers like the information that they get. And they like that they know that they can come to a group and not have to chase people
Absolutely.
or go to all different departments.
If you remember how the business was originally structured, which I'm sure you do, you were handling everything, again, from cradle to grave. So you were interfacing with the customer every day. They would communicate exactly what they needed. You'd route shipments. If there was an issue with the tracking, you could escalate it. And you were a primary point of contact dealing with the customer and
Yeah.
kind of servicing everything they needed.
Mm-hmm.
But as the business grew, we realized it's probably more efficient to have the roles within the business kind of grouped together. So a dispatch group, an order entry group, a tracking group. And that's when things started to change. What we realized is there's a customer-facing aspect that we were losing by doing that. There wasn't any one person now that spoke to the customer all the time. So if the customer says, hey, did you get this order? Yep, I got it. It's in the system. It's in there. Okay, where is it? Oh, I don't know. That's tracking, right? And you lose the single source of information, and you lose just the overall relationship. So the idea behind the customer experience group is, and by the way, that was all falling now to the salesperson, which was more of an issue because now they're not selling, they're out interfacing with customers and trying to maintain business instead of growing business. So we created this group with the idea of let's get the personal touch back into the organization.
Yeah, and it's funny when Lori first joined, and then she was talking to me about who she was going to have kind of help her build the department. I said we could search for somebody, or I don't know how you want to kind of handle it. And then a couple of days later, she came to me and said, what about Carrie? If she's someone who wants to do it, like I'd love to have her. And I was almost like mad at myself. I'm not even kidding. Like I was almost mad at myself for not thinking of that, just because I feel like your demeanor and you're just have been here for so long and know so much about the organization. It's like a perfect fit for that role in my mind. So, I'm glad that it worked out, and I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice fit. Lori comes from a background of, Newman's and running reports and, all sorts of stuff that I don't know, and then I bring in the operations side stuff that she doesn't 100% know. And now we added Maria in, who's on the accounting side, who brings in all of that. So we basically have everything covered out of 3 people in that department. As we grow, we'll probably need a couple more people to do some legwork and stuff like that. But for right now, it's like a one-stop shop, basically, for the customer.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, the salespeople's time is probably better served selling stuff, right? But also, that's a whole job in and of itself. Just to be able to have the rapport with the customers and also be able to take the time and actually listen to what their problem is and try to fix it, like that's a whole different ballgame than trying to sell stuff too. So I think it makes a lot more sense now. And I'm like I said, I'm glad you're enjoying it and growing the department with Lori and Maria.
Yeah, no, definitely. And hopefully it, differentiates us a little bit from the competition,
Absolutely.
So Karen, you've spent a long time dispatching LTL.
Yes.
Talk to me about the LTL carrier base and more specifically, most recent shakeups in the LTL carrier base.
It's a big shakeup, and people don't realize that it's really going to affect everything. It's affecting everything because Yellow did everything.
Yeah, so I remember when we first started working with actually Roadway,
Right.
probably 2006 or 7 or 8, maybe a little bit later. And Roadway was a really good company.
Yeah.
And I think they merged right
Yes.
around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became YRC.
IRC.
And then they've been going through bankruptcy ever
Yeah.
since.
Well, yeah, they had
Pretty much
that
right
big-
away.
They had a big $700 million bailout that they failed to. They bought new trucks.
I was just reading about that during COVID, right? They had a big
Yeah.
bailout. Yeah.
But even before that,
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
They've
there was
always
like
had
the smaller
financial-
guys, like you had like the Jevics. You had.
Because Yellow has always been your cheapest
Yeah.
carrier.
Well, Central has always been.
Well,
your
you have-
Central.
Well, as long as you don't care when it gets there. But
Right.
YRC, they got to the point where they had so much freight that they don't know where your freight is.
So
They've lost so much of our freight.
I remember one year, I don't remember, it had to be, all these years kind of blend together now, but 2008, 2009, when we were managing Popcorn, Indiana,
Ugh.
and we would send, 1,500 pallets out with them in a
Right.
day, and the majority of it would go to roadway.
Yeah.
And then I remember the next year after the merger, they increased our prices substantially. And I remember the sales rep coming in and saying, "You're the largest lost account in terms of dollars that we have in the entire company." Because we used to dispatch
Oh, yeah.
literally 10 trailers worth of
Sure.
LTL or more in a day, going everywhere. And then we just stopped because their pricing got crazy. And then we just started moving in different ways. New Century, a bunch of the smaller
Yeah,
carriers
all
started
the
doing pool
guys.
distribution, eventually got into the Walmart consolidation program. But that business all used to move with roadway and then YRC.
YRC. They moved a lot of freight. They were like the only company who would take certain hazmat. They took basically
YRC?
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I used to move that explosive stuff for that other company out in California. I mean, they had to go through all kinds of stuff. Nobody would touch it. YRC, oh, sure.
Just load it
No
in the
problem.
truck. It'll be fine.
And that's
the whole-
basically what they did.
Yeah, they're like the old school guys.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
were like,
They're
let's
just-
go.
We're like, well, it's on a pallet.
No,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
take
All
it.
right, come on.
So there's so many stories, Dan. I can't even tell you the stories of seeing like freight, how it gets delivered. I remember, I have so many of these stories. I remember we tendered, so we'd have carriers come to the office. They talk to us about what they do, their service areas, their pricing. We'd put in a pricing agreement with them, and then we'd start routing freight with them. And I remember times where one carrier, brand new, first shipment, the guy went to go make a delivery. They refused the delivery, and it was popcorn. And the pallets of popcorn were 40 by 48 by about 105 inches tall.
They were
This guy,
huge.
there was like 2 pallets on the delivery. He was just like, "Okay, you're going to refuse it." He literally backed his truck up 5 feet, pushed the pallets onto the ground, and left. And I get a picture from the customer, like
Just like, hey, there's
Yeah.
like a mountain of popcorn
Yeah.
in my parking lot. Like,
Basically.
you want it. There
pallets
it
of
is.
popcorn in my parking lot on the ground.
So what you just have to chalk that up as a loss, right? I mean, what do you do?
You
with
just
that?
you apologize up and down. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this call. "Hey, your driver's here to pick up, and he's peeing in the parking lot,"
Yeah.
like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's never allowed back here. Okay,
Yeah, I mean that's
it's not
that
our
seems
driver.
fair.
It's not our driver,
Our
right? It's
driver.
Right, someone
it's
that
a
we-
carrier,
right.
but like they're calling you, telling you, and then you got to go escalate that to the sales rep. But there's all these crazy stories that only happen in this industry, and that's why I started with
ties
like
back per-
that.
yeah.
Only goes
yeah.
back to like the restaurant industry where you have these crazy stories.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine another industry where this stuff goes on.
I can't
I
really
like
either.
the
to
guy
be
who was
honest with you.
drunk. The driver who was drunk showed up at, I don't know, a pickup, and the customer called, and she was like, "He's 2 sheets to the wind," and a younger person, got that call. He was like, 2 sheets to the wind. What are you talking about?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? And I'm like,
It means he should not be driving.
I go, ask if he's drunk. So he's like, "Yeah, he can't even stand." I'm not giving him my freight. You hear this woman screaming in the background. But things that you can't control.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, and that's what I find to be interesting about
truck.
what I do is that it's literally something new every day.
Well, yeah.
Every day is something that
It's
I
different.
never would have even thought that would be a problem that I'm dealing with, but here I am. You know what I mean? So,
Whoever knew this would be a part of business.
that's what keeps it fun though for me. I mean, if it's the same thing every day over and over, it's like that gets old. You
Right.
know, so
Yeah. I was saying before, that's why you
Mm-hmm.
stick around. It's always different. You're always going to get a different day.
This is true.
And now sitting on the side that you're on, you see it firsthand.
Oh boy.
When you're in operations and deep in operations, sometimes you don't.
No, because you're
Hear
buried
about
over
it.
there and you get other people handling the outside stuff for you. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're out on the front, it's fun.
have you had a less than pleased customer so far in your tenure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Some reasonable, some unreasonable.
Yeah.
It's
Some,
just-
some understand, it's the business. You have drivers on the road. You're delivering to all 42 Walmart DCs every week out of 4 different locations, sometime multiple, the same DCs delivering out of the same spot. So you could have double some months, right? They have to understand that with all these trucks on the road, something is going to go wrong.
Right.
Something.
So it's like get in your car and drive to California and get to this specific address at this specific time 5 days from now. And you have to do it.
And then you're combating.
And you have to do that 500 times every week.
It is like kind of a ridiculous task when you're thinking about it. I mean, you're dealing with weather and traffic, and if just a guy gets sick or whatever, I mean, there's nothing you could do about that, or just a vehicle breaking down or, whatever the case may be. There's a million obstacles, and all
The
you can really
expectation
do
is extremely high.
Yeah.
And, you have customers or clients that understand that and others that are just like, it's unacceptable. But that's not even the unreasonable aspect. I think when you get into some of the, the requests you get sometimes are just crazy, totally crazy. Like this needs to be in California, New Jersey, California, tomorrow. Okay. Like, are we going to fly there? No. Can we just get a truck under it? No.
unless you have a teleporter,
No.
that's not happening.
No, but
right?
people don't think that way.
They don't. No, not at all.
They're just like, it needs to be there by tomorrow. Like, okay, well, there aren't many options. So it's just not, there's just unreasonable requests and unreasonable things that come across, but that's not the majority of it. It's just funny when it does happen.
What about you, Karen? Do you have any frustrations in your day to day that you want to vent about? You could talk about.
Oh boy.
This could be your.
We might not have time.
This could be your couch that you can.
This is it.
We'll let her get a beer
No,
first.
yeah.
We'll talk a little longer.
Was the addition of the beer and the kegerator a good addition or bad addition?
It was a good.
So we should bring it back.
Yes, we
kegerator's
should
gotta come
definitely
back.
bring it back.
Okay, we should
Yeah,
get
I
rid of
think
the
it was-
kombucha.
Who was
I
the?
think it
who
was getting more
who wanted
action the other way.
kombucha? Was that? Did you want that? Or who
Everybody
wanted it?
went on that diet.
Oh, everybody did the walk thing, and they didn't want the
Yeah.
beer
And
anymore.
so I said, okay, we're going to get something healthy. So we got cold
makes sense.
brew and we got kombucha.
Cold brew, though, I don't think that was big.
No, I don't think anyone has drank any of it.
No.
I thought it was going to go like wildfire. but-
Yeah, me
I
too.
did try it.
No
I
good.
think I was gonna. No,
No.
I'm a hot coffee
Yeah. Yeah.
person. I don't like cold,
Yeah, so for everybody listening, we put a kegerator in the kitchen.
and it's
Why
lovely.
did-
It is lovely.
It's a beautiful kegerator. We just need to use it.
Yeah, we need to switch it back to beer.
Yeah, switch it back to beer.
So that was like one of the first things I think when Dan and I were talking.
That was a great idea.
No, we were like, I'm sure this is not
It's
approved in the Fusion handbook,
probably not.
but I think it'd go a long way.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean,
Yeah.
my
Oh yeah.
whenever there's some sort of like outing or there's alcohol involved,
sure.
obviously from an HR perspective, your fear is like, are people going to fight or is somebody going to drive drunk or something like that would make the company liable for anything. But obviously, people are pretty well behaved with that,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
they were
so.
good. Everybody was good.
Yeah, there was no problems at all.
Wow.
We had an electrician come and do some electrical work for us, and he was here, and he was like, "Is that a kegerator?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Like, do you mind?" And I said, "Like, are you gonna be okay? Like, you're not gonna electrocute yourself or anything?" He's like, "No, it's totally fine." I was like, "Yeah, knock yourself out, man. Like, help yourself." So he's probably half drunk putting our lights together.
that's why I see the cleaning guy in here like all night.
Yeah, that's right.
exactly.
He sleeps here. That guy.
Yeah, he doesn't get anything done. Puts on television.
Any last comments? Anything you want to talk about before we?
Relatively painless.
Yeah,
the
no, it was
road.
great.
It was
No,
painless.
thanks for
Right.
having
All
us.
right,
It was
I'll
great.
admit to it.
It's kind of fun, right? It's not bad.
Yeah, it's cool. It's different. You know, like, did I think, 25 years ago we'd be having a
Sitting here.
podcast?
I said the
Yeah,
exact same
really.
thing the first
Not
episode.
at all. Yeah.
I don't even think nobody
25
knew what
years
that
ago,
was
was
25
that?
years
Oh.
ago.
So here's what this is why I told Amiana and I told Dan let's just do this.
Yeah.
I went to this conference in Washington. We're talking about leadership and different things that people are doing to run their business. And one of the very direct questions was what are you doing to get your business out there and your people, just spread word about what you're doing in your business and outside your business. And one of the very directed things was like, why aren't you doing a podcast? It costs like nothing to do. You need to invest in some equipment, which you don't even need to go super high end, and you can reach a ton of people. You can reach all of your employees internally. You can get messages out to your customers. And I came back and I was like, Amiana, go buy this stuff. And tell me what we need. And we came up with like a short list, and we're like, okay, we can, this is reasonable. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
And so we did our launch a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a test, which you guys saw.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to do them, and we'll expand, what we're talking about, topics we're talking about, people we're talking to. And hopefully they just continue to get better and better. More people tune in. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So I hope you had fun.
I did.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Very much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Adios. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for watching the On the Move podcast. We will be coming back to you very shortly with the next episode. Thank you so much.